Hello, this is Ginny Lang with Lang Consulting, and I'm delighted to spend a few minutes with you talking about strategic planning. I get lots of questions about strategic planning, and so let's go over what it is and what it isn't. Strategic planning is a management tool, and like any management tool, it's used to help an organization do a better job. Strategic planning can help an organization focus its vision and focus its priorities in response to the environment, which is, of course, changing all the time. It can make sure that members of the organization are working toward the same goals, that everybody's on the same page. And it's a systematic process where an organization agrees on the priorities that are essential to its mission and also are responsive to the landscape it's living in. So it's internal and it's external. So here are the key components to strategic planning. I'm going to share my screen here. First, the process is strategic because it involves how to best respond to the circumstances of your environment. You choose how to respond. That's what you're doing when you're planning. Nonprofit boards have lots of choices in how they respond to their environment, like programming for changing needs, the availability of funding, competition from other organizations, and making sure you know what your partner organizations need and what they expect of you, and that you can articulate your strategy around that. Being strategic requires committing to one set of responses rather than to others. Next, strategic planning is systematic in that it calls for following a process that's both focused and productive. You're not going to spin your wheels while you're planning. The process raises the important questions. It helps you examine past experiences and test those old assumptions, and it helps you gather and incorporate new information about the present, and it helps you anticipate the environment you're going to have to work in the future, past, present, and future. The process also guides you to look at how your programs and strategies fit with the vision of the future, where you want to go, and vice versa, how your vision fits in with your programs, with what you're already doing. So that's the first two things. It's strategic and it's systematic. Third, strategic planning involves choosing specific priorities. You're making decisions about where you want to go and how you're going to get there, in the long term and the short term. While a strategic plan will stop short of that level of detail that you're used to in an annual operating plan with specific projects and lists, it will articulate the major goals or the strategic directions. You can decide later what you want to call them, and the priority methods that you have selected to deal with them. Your shorter term operational plans, all your daily work, will be stronger when it's guided with a strong strategic plan as a foundation. Long-term goals give you the reasons for your short-term actions, goals and how you'll get to them. They have to go together for your plan to be useful every day and in every board meeting. Another part of priorities is that you decide how to best use your resources, how to deploy the people and the passion and the time and the money that your organization has at its disposal. Last, this process is about commitment. It's about building commitment that systematically engages everybody, key stakeholders, including the board, clients, members, the community, and those organizational partners that I mentioned before. You get to talk about disagreements constructively, and it supports better communication and better coordination. This process allows a broad consensus to be built, and that results in better accountability throughout the organization. And that commitment you make ensures that strategic planning will actively be used for guidance and inspiration instead of a plan that sits on a shelf and gathers dust. The strategic planning process is often viewed as complex and challenging and cumbersome and hard, and it can be, unless you approach it with the knowledge of how it will work and some enthusiasm. It's always informed by the basic ideas we've talked about. It's strategic in its response to environment. It's systematic in its approach to looking at the past, the present, and the future. It's clear in its priorities, figuring out which questions need to be asked and answered and how to deploy your resources. And it's committed to building consensus. So that is strategic planning in a nutshell. You're going to come out the other side with something that you can use to guide the organization without having to reinvent the wheel. You're going to have lots less crisis management. You've made a plan and you can work the plan, and that's very freeing. So thank you. And I hope this is useful. This is Ginny Lang with Lang Consulting, and I'll see you again soon.